All right, so I'm going to show you how to get your house kick sounding deep and diabolical. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is actually pretty simple to do. So I'm going to show you what this sounds like without the secret sauce added, and then I'll show you what it sounds like with, so you can hear the difference, and then I'll show you how I did it, because it's actually not hard at all. So here's what it sounds like without the secret sauce.
Move your body now, get down on the floor. Doesn't matter how, shake your ass some more.
And then here is the secret sauce.
Move your body now, get down on the floor. Doesn't matter how, shake your ass some more. Move your
All right, so really the only thing that I did was add a sub bass to the kicks. So first, let me show you the kick, and then I'll show you how I added in the sub bass, because it's really easy to mess this up if you just throw a sub underneath the kick. So let me show you the kicks that I have for this, which would be right here. So I have two kicks. I have this Oliver kick, which is boomy. And I think this is honestly one of the ways that lets it meld in with the sub bass, is that this already has a little bit of boom in it, which is good. But I didn't want just boom, I wanted some knock as well. And so that's why I have this Travis Barker kick as well to do that. So I have the boom and the knock, but it still just wasn't enough. I wanted something to just make the speakers just go insane. So I added some sub bass. So for that, I added Sublab, which is this plugin right here. And so I just put it on low harmonics, and I think that this is just the stock setting. I don't think that there's really anything else on this. It's just stock. But I love Sublab. It's fantastic. Low harmonics is just like it's just a pure, I think it's just like a pure sine wave. I don't know. I don't really know sound design that well. So it just sounds like this. And if you don't have headphones on, you're not going to hear this at all. So just keep that in mind. So I have the sub bass here, and so I have that, but I have a lot of effects on it, or a few effects on it. So let me show you what it would sound like if I took all these effects off. I'm just going to play the sub bass and the kick here. It's not bad, but it's very... the bass is kind of drowning everything. And so that's the problem if you just add sub bass underneath a kick, is that the kick is going to get a little bit lost in it. And because the kick is going to it's going to share frequencies with the sub bass, it's just those lower frequencies, like below 60, 70 hertz, are just going to like be blown out, and it's not going to sound very good. So I did a few things to help with this. So the first thing that I added was kickstart. And so this, if you don't know, is basically just an easy sidechain compressor. So, but it's not actually sidechained to anything. It just does it automatically within the VST. So if that doesn't make sense, this is what it sounds like. It just gives that kind of like ducking sound that we want. And if it's really exaggerated, it sounds like this. But I didn't want it to be that drastic, because I didn't want the sub bass to like cut out entirely when the kick is going. I wanted it to just kind of phase out a little bit. So I did it at 80, and I liked that ratio because it's still there. You can still hear it. Again, you won't hear this unless you have headphones in. So that's the first thing that I did. But then I realized that the kick is still going to have those sub frequencies in it. And so what I wanted to do is figure out a way to duck out some of the frequencies of the sub bass while preserving the overall sound. So what does that mean? I basically just use track spacer. And so what does this do? So let me turn this on and I'll show you. Oh, I gotta turn the kick on as well. All right, so what this does, it's a little bit different than a sidechain compressor, because what a sidechain compressor does is it compresses the overall gain of the sub bass, or whatever it is that you have on there. What this does is it attenuates certain frequencies that the kicks share. So I have this sidechained to the kick drum here, And so if we look at this, the blue up here is emphasizing the frequencies that the kick is occupying. So if you see here, all this are frequencies that the kick takes up. So what this does is it looks at those frequencies that the kick has and it ducks the frequencies that the sub has. So if you look at the white here, you can see that it's cutting those frequencies. And what's really neat about this is that if you notice, there's kind of like this bell curve up here a little bit. And so this is ducking those frequencies in accordance to how high it peaks up here. So this is why it works a little bit different than a sidechain compressor, because this kind of is more dynamic to the frequencies that the kick and bass share, versus a sidechain compressor just ducks the overall output based on the presence of the kick, if that makes sense. So what that means in a nutshell is this allows the sub bass to have more clarity to it. And the other thing is you can change like where this affects. So for example, I don't really care about these higher frequencies up here because I'm focusing on the sub bass. So that's why I kind of turn this to like, I think 200 and below, because that's going to be the bass frequencies and I don't want to cut out anything above that. So yeah, that's what I did there. And what do I have here? This isn't really important. Mix tool just allows me to change the gain because I found in certain parts of the song, the gain was a little too high. So this allows me to change the gain a bit, which is pretty helpful because you don't want to automate these guys. You don't want to automate the volume. What am I trying to say? The gain sliders on the actual channel, because then you can't adjust them later on, right? Or maybe you don't know that, but yeah, you can't adjust these if you automate them later on. So if you have some sort of a gain plugin, you can slap it on there and you can automate the gain if you need to. Or like, for example, I have it dropping out in this section, which you can't hear right now. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I did to get the kick sounding just absolutely deep, absolutely diabolical. In a nutshell, I just added some kickstart and set it at 80%. And I also, just to recap, I use Sublab and I use this low harmonic setting. Other settings would probably work fine. Like there's this whole section called pure subs. And honestly, a lot of these would work really well. And this whole VST is pretty affordable. I think I paid, I don't know, $30 for it maybe on a sale. Absolutely worth it. So I have Sublab and then I have the kickstart on the insert to duck the actual gain level. And then I have the track spacer, which I set a sidechain to the kick. So again, it just ducks those frequencies that the kick occupies and it still preserves the overall sound of the sub bass. And so when you get all of that, you get what sounds like the following.
Move your body now, get down on the floor, doesn't matter how, shake your ass some more.
Boom, just like that. So hopefully this helps you out. There's probably a ton of ways to get like deep and diabolical sounding kicks. This is just one way that I found to get the job done, but there's probably plenty others as well. But maybe this helps you for creating your next house track. And by the way, if you're digging the vibes of this track called Move Your Body, this is going to be available probably at the end of February for you to check out. So I hope you like this. And if you have any questions, just drop a comment below. Subscribe if you liked the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.